Ruim 15 jaar geleden begon hier, South of Market in San Francisco, het tijdschrift Wired. Het was de aftrap van de internetrevolutie. Een van de leidinggevende mensen bij Wired was Anker. Hij zit tegenwoordig bij Six Apart, nog steeds hier South of Market in zo'n mooi bakstenen gebouwtje. Alleen Six Apart is iets bijzonders mee aan de hand, die schijnen naar de beurs te gaan. Don't stop believing. Hold on to that feeling. Street light people.
We have a free type pad, free movable type, and free box. So all of our products have free versions. And if you're the average person who has 10 or 20 or even 50 readers, a free blog is probably fine. Yeah. But as you get more serious about blogging, as you want to make money, as you want to do more control of your blog, people will pay us, or they can join our advertising program where we pay them, and we take a share of that revenue.
On those 212 million unique visitors, do they go to like 100 million different blogs, or do they go to 5 big blogs?
It's in between. There's definitely an 80-20 rule. You know, the long tail, the head, that model works. It's a lot more than 5 blogs that get 80% of the traffic. I don't offhand know the numbers, but
how many blogs are on your
millions,
networks?
Millions,
millions of blogs.
Yeah, we have millions of blogs across all of our networks. We also have a big presence in Japan. We have partnerships with 2 of the largest blog providers in Japan that are running on TypePad.
And one in Holland.
We have one in Holland with Ilse Media. So we're a worldwide company. We have 180 employees around the world, and so we have millions of bloggers. But yeah, there's no one single blog that's much bigger than everything else. But many of the blogs that people know, certainly in America, Boing Boing, Jason Kotke, Huffington Post, those are all run on our software.
And do you see WordPress as a huge competitor?
We see everybody who's growing the blogging market as being helpful to the blogging market. So we're not in blogging at a zero-sum game. WordPress is growing, Blogger, which is owned by Google, is growing, Baidu in China is growing, Ilse, all of our Japanese partners.
Web-log.nl would be the official brand name. I'm sure you use it all the time around here.
I'll take your word on that. Arguably, we compete with Twitter and Facebook and MySpace. But the market is growing so big so quickly that everybody's growing right now, which is a good time to be.
In this company, you have a group of people developing software for blogging tools, and you have a group of people selling ads.
That is correct. Blogging is so big right now that it's very hard for one company to monetize all blogs. Google can do it. They're big. We're not as big as
I've heard of them. Yeah.
You probably. I think they've come to Holland by now.
They actually do 300 million in Holland. Is the estimate.
Wow.
Euro, which is about $3 billion. How did Six Apart end up doing Paris Hilton's blog? What happened there?
Yeah. So we've found that people want to have one place that they can be their brand. Don't forget that 3 years ago, everybody wasn't talking about Facebook. They were talking about MySpace.
Yeah.
And everybody had to build huge MySpace presences. And then all of a sudden, Facebook came up. And then everybody had to build a big Facebook presence.
Yeah.
And then Twitter came up. And everybody had to build a big Twitter presence. And the fact is, social media sites come and go. Nothing wrong with that. That's the normal transition of what we do in this business. That's why Silicon Valley is so entrepreneurial. We can always kill our old strong men. And so what Paris wanted is a website that's hers. So it doesn't matter if Facebook goes away or Twitter gets small or something new comes along. That's the one place that people will go. Plus, don't forget, a lot of the way people find things is still by search engines. And if you search on Paris Hilton, she wants her site to be the first one that comes up, not some other stuff. And so by owning ParisHilton.com, by making it a vibrant site, she guarantees that ParisHilton.com is the first site you find when you search on it.
Does Six Apart see itself as a media company or as a software company?
As a media company. When I was at Wired Magazine, and our CEO, Chris Alden, was at Red Herring Magazine, so we both grew up in the magazine business, we had 2 revenue streams. We had a subscription fee and we had an advertising fee.
Yeah.
And the subscription fee made your audience better, because if you had to pay for a magazine, you got a better demographic. When you had a better demographic, you then could sell better advertising.
Yeah. Higher ad rates, basically.
Higher ad rates. When you had more advertising dollars, you could invest more in the product and make the product better so people would pay more for it. And it creates a virtuous circle where each revenue stream helps the other. And we are building the exact same business here. And so we think of ourselves as a new kind of media company.
A new kind of media company that doesn't employ media people actually creating the media.
Our content costs are much lower, which is very helpful. That's the new part.
You're paying them in a revenue share model.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And we don't have to bet the way a big media company does on hits. So we're not trying to find the best editor who's talking about the best new thing or the best director who's going to do the best movie. We let millions of people do what they want to do and write about what they want to write. And the audience finds what's best. And we help those who find an audience to then be more successful and to grow faster. So it's switching the media model around. So it's less about driving hits, and it's more about enabling everybody to have a voice.
So you're the guys basically killing off the newspapers, and I guess you are. You guys, Google.
We empower newspaper companies to have a
empower
much
was a word
cheaper
from the 80s,
infrastructure.
Andrew. That's a word we haven't used since 1987.
When I'm being lectured on English from a Dutch guy, I'm in trouble.
As far, no, because I still don't understand what it really means. But we empower.
No.
What do you empower?
We empower people to have a voice, whether that's a magazine.
Did a PR company write that for you guys? We empower people to have a voice.
When I was at Wired magazine,
Yeah.
and I launched Hotwire, the online website, we had to spend a lot of money and a lot of engineers' time building out a content management system so that we could publish. Now you can get that for free.
True.
That's empowerment.
That's true. You get it very cheap or free.
That's
all
right.
these free tools.
That's right. If you look at, it's the same thing.
Well, the cost of content production have gone down tremendously.
Exactly right. The cost of reaching people. It's what Windows did back, or the Mac did, when in the old days of mainframe computers. It's taking something that used to be the province of big companies. You had to have a broadcast tower. You had to have in America, to do a TV show, you had to have an FCC license. You had to have a broadcast tower. You had to have a big studio. Now you can come here with 2 cameras, and you can stream it online tonight if you wanted to.
Yeah.
That's empowering. And that's what blogging is about. That's what YouTube did, certainly for video, and a number of others did. That's what Pandora and other sites or iTunes are doing for the music industry.
Yeah.
That's empowering, and we think it's wonderful. We also think that it's a good time to buy companies in the space. That there's a lot of interesting companies out there that are.
But it hasn't happened yet. We keep waiting for these acquisitions, and we don't see it happening yet.
It's still early, and don't forget, the last 2 years has not been the best economy. And typically, in bad economies, people like to cut costs and save money, not go out and buy. But I think you're going to see a lot of activity this year in social media. You're going to see a lot of companies going public, certainly starting to go public.
Well, you're a former investment banker that went from the dark side to the good people again.
I am.
And do you think that you'll really see Facebook going public this year or Twitter doing something? What do you think is the timeline that we're looking at?
Yeah, it's hard for me to comment on any company because I just don't know. We're just
right. Guesstimating.
Right, and I think it's hard to say who is going to go public. I do know, I talk to a lot of my banker friends still, and I am told that there are something like 40 S1s, which is the document that you write before you go public. There are 40 S1s either on file with the SEC or being written in our space, in the technology space. So there's a strong belief that the IPO market's going to come back this year. I would not be surprised, I'm not going to predict anything, but I would not be surprised to see a Facebook or a LinkedIn or Zynga, one of the bigger companies in the social media space, go public this year. I think it is the time in the cycle. It's all about economic cycles, and it seems to us right now that the economy is coming back. And that's a good time to go public, because when the economy comes back, marketing dollars come back in force, and companies that are based on advertising, which most social media companies are, tend to do really well.
And then they will grow as the economy grows.
And they grow as the economy grows.
And in the old days, the metrics were sort of, if you have about 30 million in revenue and you have 4 quarters of being profitable, you could go public, and your growth is over 50%. What is it now? Do you need to have more over than 100 million revenue? What do you think it is like?
So OpenTable went public last year with about 60 to 70 million of revenue or so. So I think that's probably as low as you'd want to be. When I talk to my banker friends, they tell me 100 million is probably a better hurdle. But a lot of it is what kind of company you want to be and what kind of growth rate you see. The problem is being a small public company is very expensive. There's a lot of regulation with Sarbanes-Oxley.
And it's become a lot more expensive than it was 10, 15 years ago.
A lot more expensive. So you don't go public when you're too small, because I know of companies that are public and are not profitable because of the costs of being public.
And those costs are accounting related, legal.
Shareholder relations, investor relations, that kind of thing. And so
can't wait for those days again.
Yeah, yeah. So there's no question that you don't want to be too small, even if you could go public. I think 100 million is probably the right target. But look, if you're a $50 million company that's doubling in size every year, you can go public.
You got a story to tell.
You absolutely do. Ultimately, it's about growth rate. And if the two revenue streams are growing at a nice rate, people are happy. If you're profitable, people are happy.
And is 6 apart profitable?
We're not profitable right now. We've chosen to invest in growth.
And what do you invest in then? Do you invest in people or in technology, or what is it that you're really doing?
Yeah,
buying market share?
We've been investing a lot in technology and market share. We've also been buying companies. We bought actually 2 companies last year.
But now what you're having is a situation where you have these big companies doing over 100 million in revenue, Zynga over 200 million, I think.
That's the rumor, certainly.
Yeah, that's the rumor. If you see what they're spending and what they're hiring, you would guess. And you get all these small companies. It almost seems like you have much more of a dichotomy in startups. You get the big ones that are buying the small ones, and you seem to be in the middle between the big ones and the small ones.
We are clearly not as big as someone like LinkedIn, who we know very well. Reid Hoffman, who's the founder of LinkedIn, is actually on our board. Yeah. So we know him very well, and we know that company very well. But we're, on the other hand, bigger than a lot of companies that grew up in the Web 2.0 space that didn't focus on revenue. They focus on market share. We've always focused on revenue. So from a revenue standpoint, I think we're a lot bigger than people realize.
Yeah, let's put it that way. There's a lot of these Web 2.0 companies that created tools that are growing and have 0 revenue.
Yeah. Yeah, when you talked about a dichotomy between the big Web 2.0, or let's say the big social media companies and the small, and I think that's very true, that there was companies that had either a big focus on revenue or just such a viral growth rate, like Facebook, that they found revenue. There's companies that didn't worry about revenue and got very big and are now trying to drive revenue, like Twitter. And then there's companies that are sort of still trying to figure out their model and are very small. And I think those are the companies that have had a hard time of it over the last year. There's still a lot of money, venture investment, a lot of venture capital around. So if you're a company with a successful model, whether you have revenue or not, if you have a successful model, you can raise venture capital. It's the companies that never got big fast, that never really figured out a good model for growth, that are hurting right now. And a lot of those are companies that we're finding have interesting technologies or interesting people that we can buy and bring into our revenue model, bring into our company, and they can do great things for us. Whereas as an independent company, they were having a hard time.
Because do you expect a lot of those little Web 2.0 companies that haven't really caught on to be bought this year or go belly up?
Probably get bought more than belly up, because most of them are very capital efficient, so they don't need too much capital. They can keep going for a while. Things are so cheap these days.
Yeah, they're a lot smaller than they used to be.
Yeah, so we're not talking about companies that had $1 million a month burn rates like we did in the 90s. So these are companies that are probably going to get bought by somebody. But if they don't have a good model and they run out of money, then they're going to go under. I think you're going to see this be a shakeout year, yes.
And you probably in a situation where you're looking what the big guys are doing in the space, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then you can, I would guess, tweak the model where you can become profitable if you stop acquiring companies and focus more on revenue.
Yeah, I would love for us to be profitable by the end of this year. And that's a goal. That's definitely a goal. We may get there, we may just miss it, but our intent is to get to profitability, certainly within the next 18 months.
Because if you don't, you miss the IPO window that's opening up. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for the talk, man.
Not at all. Great to see you again.
Yeah, okay. Any tips for Dutch people, for Dutch companies, people in this space working?
Elect Michiel as your leader.
Andrew's trying to push me in politics.
I want him to be a politician. I think he should be the prime minister. Is that what you call it, prime minister?
Yeah.
Queen? What do you call it? You have a queen, but you have prime ministers too?
Yeah, a lot of people have tried to make me a queen as well. That has failed miserably at it.